Hey guys, welcome back to the Jay's Sit Down Podcast. I'm your host Jay, and then today we're going to be recapping here Week 10 in the NFL. This is going to be interesting because now we got a few teams who still winning here and continuing to make way as we get closer and closer to the end of the season and the postseason. Steelers being one of those teams, and mainly what I'm going to talk about today is that the fact that the Steelers are serious contenders. After they beat Baltimore yesterday, very much in a field goal game, offense wasn't, you know, as productive as they can be, but they were still able to get the win because of their ferocious defense and containing Lamar Jackson. So we'll talk about that and also the Bills and Chiefs, recapping that. And yes, and just a lot to talk about there. But before we get started, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button right there in the right corner of your screen and find us here on YouTube. Also, we're on those audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so all that stuff. So Jay's Fifth Down ! You can find us there if you search that up. We very much appreciate a follow if you do that there. And so like I said, Steelers guys, this is a team. I didn't think they would be this. I know the Steelers are usually always, they're a team that manages to finish the season with the winning record. They've been able to do that since Mike Tomlin's been the head coach, for most of his tenure there. And but this year they just look different. I mean, they finally have great quarterback play for the first time since Ben Roethlisberger was there, and consistent quarterback play. They had that with Justin Fields to start off the season, and then they moved to Russell Wilson, and they've still been able to win. With him at under center, still leading that offense. And the passing game has been much better with Wilson under center. But even though still with that, I mean, Justin Fields still adds that rushing dynamic. When he comes in. And he's not a horrible passer either, his passing has improved since he's gotten in Pittsburgh. So that's another thing that teams really don't know. Like he can come in the game and he could throw because he's capable of doing that, or he can just run the football on the ground. Even when he does that, it's hard to stop him. So the Steelers have a very interesting dynamic here with these two quarterbacks, and it's they need to use it to their advantage, and it's because that's not a the two quarterback system is not one of those things that it's not really run much in the NFL as it is in college, right? You got the quarterback system where it's like, you have your guy that's your passer, but then you got a guy that can come in that's more of a running quarterback that has that threat on the ground, but he can also throw it a little bit. We don't see that much in the NFL because obviously, it's not very prevalent in the NFL as it is in collegiate levels and high school levels, right? But the Steelers are one of those teams where they have this, so they should definitely use it to their advantage. And they have a league high 5 victories over teams that have winning records this year. Those, of course, that one of those teams being the Baltimore Ravens, who they beat yesterday in a very important AFC matchup. And that being said, I really am looking at the Steelers right now differently than I did to start off the year. I didn't think they were going to be this good at 10, 11 weeks into the season. And here they are, 8-2, one of the top teams in the AFC, up there with Kansas City, up there with the Buffalo Bills, who beat the Chiefs, yesterday. We'll get into that later. But it's time to really start talking about the Steelers as being I can't believe I'm saying this, a serious Super Bowl team if we haven't done that already. This is a team that can definitely go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, with Josh Allen in January. If they're fully healthy, if the Steelers are fully healthy, this is a ball club that can go into, I believe, Arrowhead or Highmark Stadium and get a win against one of those two teams. I really believe they can. I didn't believe this earlier in the year, in the offseason, but now I'm watching this team through 10 weeks this year, just how fast and how physical their defense plays, how disciplined they are. Like I said, offensively still can run the football a little bit better than what they've been doing, but for the most part, the offense looks really, it looks gelled. It looks very productive, under Arthur Smith running the offense there. And I like what I see from the Steelers. They've always been a team that has just been, very aggressive and very, like I said, disciplined defense. And they align, they assign, they attack, correctly on that side of the football, and they do their jobs. And that's how Mike Tomlin coaches them to play on defense. The offense has just been the only thing the last couple of years that's been holding it back with the very subpar quarterback play with Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, right? It's that's been what's kind of holding them back, and now they finally got, like I said, that consistent quarterback play, guys that are just more capable of doing the job better. That it balances it out, and it shows that winning. It shows that on the field by them winning all these games. And honestly, like, yeah, this team is definitely up there. I mean, because you really look at the AFC right now, like the Ravens, just their defense is just it's good. It always is good, but it's not how it's been in a few years past. They're down there in the bottom of the league as far as like total defense. So I mean, they're still struggling in some areas, and in our areas where you can attack them, and they just don't look the same. So I'm not confident in Baltimore going to the AFC Championship game this year as they did a year ago, because this team's the defense looks a little bit different than it did a year ago. And that, with that being the case, I just think that spot could open up to the Bills. It could open up to the Steelers. I mean, but I mean, other than that, the AFC kind of is, it's still open, but it's not much under there. I mean, your best teams are the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Bills. Like, those are your best teams. If the Bengals defense was, if they played good football, if they played better, because they're a majority of the reason why they've lost a lot of their games this year, not Joe Burrow in the offense, but the defense, then I'll put the Bengals up there too. But unfortunately, they're not. They haven't been playing to the level that they can play, and that's really been hurting Cincinnati. So that's why I can't put them up there in conversation of those top AFC teams, because they're not. But again, those being the Bills, the Steelers, the Chiefs, those are those top three teams to me, from what I've seen so far, that are playing really good football right now. And the Ravens too, you can put them in there. But like I said, they're not serious contenders. To me, the Steelers are serious contenders. Maybe even serious Super Bowl contenders. I don't know, right? But you got to get past the Chiefs. That's the main thing. And I have confidence that they could go in there and beat them, especially if it's at home. But if they even have to go to Kansas City and play against them, I think the Steelers could go in there and beat the Chiefs. That's just my opinion, And now, like I said, I didn't think this back in off season, but from what I'm seeing right now, this team just looks well balanced offensively, defensively, special teams. They're a very well-oiled and coached team, and once they get some of their guys back from injuries, like, this is going to be a very hard team to deal with come January. So that's just something I wanted to say there about the Steelers, giving them some love here on the podcast. But now I'm going to switch gears to the Chiefs and the Bills game, which was probably the best game that happened yesterday. In our slate, one of the better games at least. Usually we know how those games go between the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, right? It's all the two AFC giants, the AFC quarterbacks, two AFC giant quarterbacks. And we always know it's going to be a great contest between them. Patrick Mahomes came out and played he played decently, didn't play his best game, but credit the Buffalo defense to that. They were over their receivers. They did a good job. They were disciplined. They didn't let too much get over their heads. The Chiefs are still going to go out on the field and score points because they're an NFL team, for one thing, and they're a very talented offense. They're very well coached by Andy Reid and the offensive staff. So they're going to do what they do. And not to mention Isaiah Pacheco, not available for this game. Also something to take note of. But regardless, the Bills did what they were supposed to do. Defensively, they got after Patrick Mahomes. They were able to get a turnover from him, which kind of sealed the deal in the game. And my thing with like the Chiefs, Tony Romo said this on the broadcast last night, but he was like, the only way you've got is that the game is never over when Patrick Mahomes is still standing out on the field. The game is never over. He's like, you have to go and win the game. You can't rely on your defense. You can't do that. You have to go and win the football game when you're playing against the Chiefs, regular season or postseason. You have to go and win it yourself. You have to go down there. You got to be aggressive. You got to get into the end zone. You got to get touchdowns. Your defense has to do their part, but, kind of specifically talking to Josh Allen and the offense, or if it's any team that's playing the Chiefs, you have to go and beat them. You have to go and beat them. You cannot just let them just like, you can't just sit safe and, oh yeah, our defense is going to handle this, because it's like, it's Patrick. You can't count Patrick Mahomes out in any game. He's one of the top quarterbacks for fourth quarter comebacks. So it's like you can't count him out. And it was a really great game. Like I said, I was very impressed with Buffalo's offense, how they were moving the football. I mean, the core of receivers this year for the Bills, they got the trade for Amari Cooper, all that kind of stuff, but it really hasn't been the best, of course, right? I mean, you lose a guy like Diggs and everything, that's gonna deplete production a little bit. But they've been able to still hold strong with that. Khalil Shakir still, doing his part. Keon Coleman, playing decently in his rookie year, but he's injured now, and so Matt Collins has been big, stepping up for them. So they've got some guys that came in there. James Cook on the ground, like they have a good ground game. The Bills do, with James Cook, and if he stays healthy, and you got the added threat of him running the football, and Josh Allen being able to run the ball, and not only to mention his arm as well. He's a great passer. The Bills' offense can be very hard to stop when they're clicking on all of their cylinders, and they were yesterday really for the majority of the game, and driving the ball down the field, and they were able to punch it in, into the end zone against the Chiefs. And that's probably the best game I've seen the Bills play the Chiefs, like the most complete game, like clock management wise and things like that, since this whole rivalry kind of started. Like that's the best I've seen them play against the Chiefs in all the games that the two of them have played, including the playoffs as well. The most smartly I've seen the Bills play against Kansas City. I can say that, because at the end I remember before the half, the Bills took up a lot of time on the clock, and they did not let Patrick Mahomes get on the field and have a chance to match the touchdown, try to score a touchdown before the half. That was great clock management, because you understand guys like that, you cannot allow them to get back on the field. You need them on the sideline as long as possible, because obviously if they are on the field, their chances of their team scoring are heightened greatly, of course. But Bills did a great job, great game. But now they know that they have to do that again, because come January when they play the Chiefs in the playoffs, because they are, we already know that. That's of course if they hold strong the rest of the year and finish the season on a good note, then making the playoffs, of course. Yeah, they'll definitely go against Patrick Mahomes again, and they're gonna have to do that again. Go and win the game. Go and be aggressive. You can't be conservative against teams like the Chiefs. So kudos to Buffalo on the win there. But other than that, it was a good weekend football. Packers and Bears was a good game. Packers got that win. They won 11 straight over Chicago. The Bears just continue to fall. And right now, question around is like, is Matt Everett going to get fired? I doubt it though. At least maybe not till the end of the year if he does. But Green Bay is still showing that they're not out of it. They're not out of the they're not out of the NFL playoff race. They're not. They're a team that is they play good football. Jordan Love is a good quarterback. There's some other things to kind of gel together, but for the most part, they're a great team, great ball club. And they go out there and do what they're supposed to do. So in the NFC North, 3 good teams: the Lions, the Bears. Not the Bears. Why did I just say the Bears? The Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers are 3 good teams in that division. And the Lions right now just are completely unbeatable right now. They have destroyed the Jags like 52-6 yesterday. It was just abysmal. Even though I know it's Jacksonville, but still, like, Detroit right now, I don't think anybody in the NFC is able to compete with the Lions. I really do not. There is no reason why the Lions should not come out of the NFC. The 49ers are not a threat this year because they're just all injuries and stuff, and they're just not who they are normally. The Cowboys are a mess. They lost Dak Prescott for the end of the year, so I bet they were never a threat to begin with anyways, the Cowboys. But come out the NFC, the only team I can really see that can threaten Detroit is the Eagles. And, because they've been playing a little bit better recently than they have to start the year. And, that's the only team I can see. Other than that, I don't see anybody else. Detroit is just a powerhouse. So It really this year's postseason should be really interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I know we still have some time before we get there, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode of Jay's Fit Down. Make sure you hit that subscribe button in the right corner of your screen. Thanks for watching everything and listening. If you're listening on audio platform, and make sure you follow us on those audio platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Jay's Fit Down !. We are also on the socials: Instagram, X, and TikTok. So follow us, Jay's Fit Down Pod. But really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time on the show.